Welcoming in Jason Canfora, Baltimore Orioles, a disappointment to say the least last year after what they had done the previous 2 years. Didn't really add much last offseason. Jason, we've seen some of your tweets, so we know that you take a critical eye. Keep it real with us. What's your biggest offseason priorities right now?
Well, look, number one on my checklist would be fire Mike Elias, but they promoted him and didn't even bother to tell their fans about it. And if not for your buddy Ken Rosenthal and the reporters at The Athletic, we still maybe wouldn't have known about it. But as it stands, we're stuck with Elias. So he needs to go out and get a legitimate impact middle of the order bat, preferably one who can play center field and do so on an everyday basis, because I don't think Colton Cowser's an everyday player. They need to rebuild the entire back end of their bullpen. That's not really a revelation. And I put this last thing third. Some people will put it first, but they need to get another starting pitcher who could be more than an innings eater, someone to complement Bradish and I guess Rogers at the top of the rotation.
Wait, so they have to go get an impact bat. So, would a Tyler O'Neill to play? Oh, wait, no, that was last. So is that impact bat based on the fact that now they offered hundreds of millions of dollars to Corbin Burns and it didn't pan out. So maybe Rubenstein has that money, or is this a we got to trade for the center fielder, or are they just going to take whoever the Phillies, because they take whoever the Phillies had and take one of their center fielders?
Well, I would say to the Burns of it all, they knew he wasn't taking that offer. He literally laughed publicly in their face about that offer. So I just think they wanted to be in the vicinity to be able to say we tried. Look, I mean, it could be Bellinger. I don't think they're going to get Bellinger or Schwarber. I think they'll have to be creative and make a trade. And Cedric Mullins may have been declining, but Cedric Mullins was a hell of a baseball player here. And Enrique Bradfield Jr. has barely played at AAA, so he can't be even counted on whatsoever this coming year. And again, the more you see a Cowser, the more you see that all he can hit is fastballs. And I don't think he can play center field either. And he's got deficiencies throwing to the cutoff man and throwing to the right base. Not a very heady player. So, no, they need a center fielder. They need a field general out there. I would say they need an impact bat in their infield as well. They need more out of first base. Like a Pete Alonso type would be great. That's not going to happen. But they need to move on from Mountcastle. And, if they're going to try to sell a platoon of Mayo and Basayo and a little bit of Adley at first base, I would say that sounds like the kind of things they often concoct that blow up in their face.
Yeah, always the prospects, never the championships. But let's go to an area that, as much as the youth and prospect everything was an area of strength and yet to be determined by some, solidified by others, let's talk about the back end of the bullpen. That was your second point on your to-do list. The back end of the bullpen, how long ago? Oh, man, the mountain's coming back. Felix Bautista's coming back. And we can put in Yanier Cano into the closer's role, which was never going to work because he's not a strikeout guy. And then we had Sir Anthony he's gone. How did a strength turn into such a, not even weakness, but like a gaping hole that they have to fill now?
Well, you can take it back to Bautista throwing bullpens in 100-degree heat in the summer in a season when everybody with a brain knew he was going to have to get Tommy John anyway. They put that surgery off. He didn't come back from that surgery on time. I would say there's major question marks with their medical team because nobody really comes back from their surgeries on time around here. And they got Kimbrel to try to fill that role originally and gave him $14 million, which is like $50 million for a real team with the way these guys spend. And so they've been chasing their tail ever since. Then this year they counted on Bautista coming back delayed off of a delayed Tommy John. And they didn't have a whole lot of insurance there. And they don't have enough guys with swing and miss stuff in the back end, period. I think them reuniting with a Danny Colomb who can get lefties and righties out with a 6-pitch mix, it's not going to be with, Velo that nobody can touch. But he was great here and he was great with the Twins. And they shouldn't have let him leave in the first place. And then they need a right-handed setup guy and they need a closer. And look, if they would just commit to Tyler Wells not being a starter, you're never going to get a lot of innings out of Tyler Wells without him breaking down, and let him audition to be the setup guy or the closer, that would be one thing. But they're opposed to it. Suarez, I could see being right up their alley because his brother Albert's already pitching here.
All right, you mentioned first base and the gaping hole, or you think a gaping hole in terms of a power bat at first base. What about Sam Basayo? I mean, they say long-term they don't plan on sticking him at catcher because of his offensive upside, and they don't want to drain that. Adley did have a down year last year, but he kind of picked back up late in the season. So moving, he's going to be the catcher. What about moving Basayo over permanently?
I mean, he's 20 years old. Like this kid, like has got enough on his plate trying to figure out how to catch at the major league level. And again, another sort of odd player development quasi failure for them. Just go look at how many innings he has and has not caught in the minor leagues at catcher. Like, so I mean, I don't know. Like, I think to count on him and to count on Mayo would be typical for them. It would be the kind of stuff they like to sell to their fan base. But I also think it could be potentially fraught with peril. Like Kobe Mayo's got a whole lot of holes in his swing still and is probably a positionless player. And I just think, to expect Basayo to provide elite on base and power, and they need both at first base in his first full major league season while playing some catcher, it doesn't strike me as a way to solidify your lineup. It strikes me as more on these kids who need people to take stuff off of them. Like someone needs to help Gunner out.
That's why I'm saying don't have him catch. Move him to first base, a permanent first baseman.
Not counting his bat. Let's have him bat seventh in the lineup and call that a day in a developmental year, and let's go get a real lineup. Like, let's not try to prop up Tyler O'Neill and pretend that's something. Like, let's not do the poppycock of last year, get Gary Sanchez and pretend he's a catcher. Like, they need to get something real in the middle of this lineup. And again, that guy, ideally, he's got to play center field or he's got to play first base. The whole, youth and these kids are telling you, we're not it, man. Like, where's our Bregman? Where's our Kyle Tucker? Like, it can't all just be from within. Like, they failed. They failed multiple years down the stretch. So, I mean, nobody likes Sam Basayo more than me. I've been on Sammy first time I saw video of him as a 16-year-old. But, to count on that, I think would be really sort of sophomoric. But again, they are the quintessentially sophomoric, chase your own tail front office. So just keep doing what you're doing. It's been great.
Here's what I want to know, Jason. Here's my thing. Your third thing on here is, yes, we know they have to find these hitters, and yes, they have to find these bullpen guys, and yes, they have to find starting pitching. You have Grayson coming back, hopefully. You have a little bit of guys that can pitch for you. Rogers pitched great for them. Kramer will eat some innings for you. They have some guys that can cover it.
Yeah.
So why are they scared to use these prospects that they've been hoarding now for years, as you said, that haven't developed? Because I'm not 100% sold on all these guys are going to be superstars like every person in Baltimore thinks. Will they use some of these guys to go get a top 3 starting pitcher, whoever that person needs to be? Go get Tarek Skubal. Be like, you know what, Detroit? We don't know if you want to trade him, but we're going to give you our whole farm system for a guy like Tarek Skubal, and then possibly re-sign him instead of what they did with Corbin Burns. Why won't they do that? Because that seems to be the path that they're not going to spend.
Yeah, I'm more convinced they'll spend on a bat than do what you're doing, pay a prospect cost, and make Tarek Skubal the highest paid pitcher in the league. Like, I don't believe Mike Elias wants any part of anything remotely like that. I think he's incredibly risk averse. He doesn't even want to draft pitchers in the first round. Like, he refuses to do it. He doesn't really want to take them until the third round. But you're telling me he's going to go out and give up all these kids he's been hoarding and then go pay Skubal what, he and his representation are going to want to commit here for 5 or 6 years. Oh, yeah, and he's already had one Tommy John. Like, I don't buy that for a second. I don't buy they ever really wanted Corbin Burns. They wanted, again, to be with enough of earshot of Corbin Burns to say, we tried. He turned us down. So, yeah, I think it's more likely they go with a Martin Perez type and sell him as a 3 than do any of this stuff. Like, they didn't want to give Eovaldi what would it have taken last year? 25 a year, 75 for 3. You'd have got him out of there for sure. Like, they weren't even thinking that way last year. Do I think they've had this huge course correction? I don't. And that's part of the reason it's lower on my list is because of the inherent injury risk with pitching and the way so many guys got wiped out. They're taking a victory lap quietly, like, oh, just see what happened to Burns? Like, a good thing that wasn't us. It had killed our whole payroll. I just don't think that's really how they roll. If they get pitching, it's going to be cost certain pitching. Somebody else has already negotiated the contract. Somebody else has probably already paid a year or 2 of it, and we'll assume the rest.
Let me ask you something. You said about Mike Elias how he got that contract extension and everybody thought maybe he should be fired. You included. But let me ask you this. he has brought talent to the minor league system. He had success in Houston doing that. Would you have been against him in a different role with the organization and somebody brought in that has finished the deal before? Because clearly he was given some money last year, not a lot. I think $70 million can improve you a lot more than Shigano and Tyler O'Neill. But could that have been the route so that you just have somebody that's willing to take the three-point shot instead of always layup?
Yeah. I mean, it would have been great. I called for years for checks and balances. You can go back 3 years ago and find me rant on the radio or go on my Twitter. Like, they needed a Dombrowski type who'd actually won before, who actually had the cojones to know that sometimes, like, time is urgent. Like, there is this year, the AL East is really down, and this year there's more pitching available at the deadline than there's probably going to be in the future. So now's the time to trade some of these prospects and pounce. And instead, they got Flaherty for Drew Rom. So, yeah, no, they needed someone with big boy pants here a long time ago. But, we're way beyond that now. This guy got more money. He got more power. When the world found out through reporting, not through the organization, 9 months later, he then started whispering to people, well, we could hire a GM. Now he's already come out and said, I'm not getting a GM. So even if he won't even hire a puppet GM who literally wouldn't have any checks and balances or pushback, and we'll be reporting to him anyway. They're not getting any better for me as an organization until he's gone, until the Matt Bloods of the world stop getting extensions and they get the hell out of my city too. And you get a real front office in here that can go to these billionaires and say, all right, everything you heard from these people is out the window. Here's how we get these people who've been waiting for a parade since 1983, a parade in the next couple of years. I don't believe Mike Elias is wired that way. I don't believe he'll ever be wired that way. And there is no one in that building to push back on anything he thinks. Everybody genuflects to him and his calculator and tells him how brilliant he is. Just watch the press conference with the new manager when they asked him about personnel. Why would I ever even have a thought about personnel? Whatever, dude. Let's just play it out. Let's fast forward to the season, and then there's going to be a lockout, and hopefully this guy's out of my life sometime in the next 2 years.
Who do you want? Who do you want them to sign? Who do you want them to go get? Give me in 1 minute, give me 2 or 3 names that you would love for the Orioles to go get that would help fix this problem.
Go get Kyle Tucker.
Oh, duh. Go get Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani. Boom, the Orioles are fixed.
They could have traded for Juan Soto. I was begging them to trade for Juan Soto that year. They had more. Look, that trade ended up being absolutely genius for the Padres. For the Nats. But these guys could have done that. They absolutely could. I was begging them to do it in real time. Even 1 year, that year would have put them over the top. But now, again, they need an aircraft carrier in the middle of their lineup for me, first and foremost. So if you think that's Bellinger, then Bellinger. But if you're asking me right now, it's Kyle Tucker.
I just want to point out, Jason, really quickly that the Toronto Blue Jays finished last year. And where were they this year, this October? Where were they?
A lot of people are saying that. I see zero. When the Orioles have a $500 million first baseman, and they go out and sign multiple free agents who are at the top of their lineup, or the leadoff guy, Springer, where did he come from? Oh yeah, they had to spend money to get him from someplace else. And then they kept Vladdy, and these guys signed Basayo and then started whining about the contract 30 seconds later. There's zero comparisons for me between them and Toronto. Toronto situationally hit. Toronto had 6 guys get Gold Gloves. People come to this team in the minors. They don't even have a position. They played so many different positions. They're no good at any of them. They don't know how to slide. Watch Jackson Holiday slide head first with his feet in the air and tell me about their player development. No, they ain't Toronto.